Hey guys, I'm back with a very interesting puzzle today. This one is designed to test your so-called chess IQ. Full disclosure, I recently purchased an educational chess book called Play Better Chess by Leonard Bardin. I think it's probably 40 years old at least. But I highly recommend this book if you're interested in learning and getting better at chess. It's been helping me in my play, I think, quite a bit. And this puzzle that I'm going to show you guys is taken directly from the book. Before we start, I want to mention that in addition to testing your chess IQ, these puzzles are also testing your experience as a chess player. So don't feel discouraged if you're having a tough time finding the correct answers here. Many beginning players may not see these moves at first, but I think either way, regardless of your skill level, I think you're going to find some of these enlightening and entertaining, hopefully. And finally, please remember to like and subscribe. And remember to click on the bell so that you can receive notifications when I upload new videos. That's greatly appreciated. Thanks. Okay, so this puzzle involves the position that we see here in front of us. And just so we're clear, this position is from White's board. So White's pawns are going to be moving up this way, and Black's pawns are moving down the board this way. Okay. So the unique thing about this puzzle is that we're going to break down this position with 5 different verdicts, given by 5 different players. Each player has a different skill level. So we're going to start with the beginning level player and work our way all the way up to Grandmaster level analysis of this position. And I think this is a great example of how different players can come to vastly different conclusions looking at the same board and the same pieces, just depending on their experience or what they happen to notice on a board. So our task and the puzzles basically is to guess the moves that each player is seeing that leads them to their conclusion about who's winning. I know this probably sounds a little confusing, and if it does sound confusing, hopefully after we start, I think it's going to become a lot more clear to you. So we have 5 different puzzles we're going to do, and we're going to start now with the interpretation of a beginner level player looking at this board. And it's White's turn to move. So we're going to start with the beginner. A novice watching this game thought that Black must win on material. Black's threat of 1 blank cannot be stopped. Okay, so our job now is to try and find what this beginner level player is seeing in this position. What single move by Black seems like such a threat or so unstoppable that it appears White's already lost? Pause the video if you need to, and see if you can figure this one out. Okay. So the move we're looking for here is pawn promotion. So it's White's turn to move. Let's say White makes some random move. What this beginner level player saw was this pawn promoting on a1. A common misconception here is that this pawn actually has to become a queen, but what's actually true is that Black can actually promote to a queen, a knight, a rook, or a bishop. He can do any one of those things. Obviously, in most positions, including this position, you're going to want to promote to a queen because it's just a stronger piece. Okay. So to the beginner level player, this promotion appears unstoppable, even though it's White's turn to move at the beginning. So let's move on to round 2, where a stronger player analyzes his position. So here we go, round 2. His friend, an average club player, thought that White could allow this threat and still win the game. He sees 3 total turns, plus a 4th move by White, that leads to a decisive victory by White. After this 4th move, White wins easily through his advantage on material. And just so we're clear, a turn basically means a White move and a Black move together. So 1 turn means, let's say, 1 move here and 1 move here. That's 1 turn, okay? So basically what this second player sees is a way for White to deal with the pawn promotion we saw in round 1 and come out clearly ahead. So our job now is to see if we can find out how White can deal with this. I'll give you guys one hint. We need to look for some forcing moves for White here. So pause the video and see if you can find out how White can come out ahead here. and deal with this looming pawn promotion. Remember, your analysis should include 4 moves by white and 3 moves by black. So I'll pause it here. Let's see if you can figure it out. Okay, so if you made it this far, I'm going to give you actually one more hint in case you're still struggling with this. Think of possible ways that white can actually check the black king here. So checks are very good forcing moves because your opponent has to respond to these moves. And that's one example of a forcing move. So you might notice that only one piece that white has can actually check the black king. And that's a little bit of a hint for you guys in figuring out maybe how white can deal with this pawn promotion that we discussed earlier. So pause it again, and I will give you guys the answer in a few seconds. Okay, so the correct answer here to round 2 is the following. White will play rook to h7, and black will probably just promote his queen here, his pawn into a queen. But you'll notice that now that this rook's on h7, white's next move is rook captures on b7, checking the king. And now we have to figure out, well, where can black's king actually move here? So this square is covered by the white king. The kings cannot ever come that close to each other, so that's covered. This bishop here, white's bishop, is covering this square, so black can't move there. And this pawn on c4 is covering this square, so all these squares are covered. So black only has 3 moves here to deal with this check. He has to move his king either to a3, a4, or a5. Okay? So the best move for black here is actually king to a3. And now you'll see that white's just going to play rook a7 check. And after king moves out of the way, white's going to capture. Black recaptures, and now not only is white up a whole bishop, but white's king is also just in a much better position here to move over and capture this piece, this pawn, and basically provide a way for white to promote his own pawn and win the game. So that is what the round 2 answer was. That's what I guess, what average club players saw. And now we're going to go into round 3, and we're going to see an even stronger player look at this position even differently. So we're going to go back to the beginning. Hope you guys are hanging in there. We have 3 more positions left. So here we go. White looked at this position hard and then resigned the game. He was an expert player and foresaw that after rook h7, black could reply with a different move than the promotion. After the second turn, and if on turn 3, white renews the threat of the second move, black will play this move, and white no longer has any saving resource. Okay. So here's the expert review of this position, or here we're looking at 3 total turns, or 3 moves by each player. And to start off, white's first move is rook h7. So our goal here is now to find a different move for black that can prevent these series of checks that we just did previously in round 2. So it'd be a good idea to pause the video here and try to come up with a strategy that black can use, or a move that black can use, not promoting this pawn, that will prevent white checking the king multiple times and ending up capturing this pawn. So pause the video, and I'll give you guys the answers in a few seconds. Okay, so the correct answer here is after rook h7, black doesn't have to promote this pawn. Black can play king to a5. And you'll notice here that if white captures on b7, the black king can move to a6. And now, if white tries to check and win this pawn, well, black's just going to capture, right? And that's the sequence of moves that that white saw. And that's why he resigned the game, because he thought this position was clearly losing. So you'll notice that, okay, we'll go back and talk about this a little bit further. So black plays king to a5, white captures. Black's going to play king to a6. We already talked about how this won't work. And it's also important to note that white cannot stop or block this promotion from happening. If white plays down to b1, well, the pawn's covering the square, so the pawn can just capture and promote simultaneously. So that's also not an option for white. So the only actual move white can play here to keep this alive is actually moving his rook back to b8. But of course, after he does this, as long as black plays king to a7, this is where white has no further options. So white can go anywhere he wants. He can go here, he's promoting. He goes here, king's going to capture, promotion happens either way. And again, if he goes back here, well, that's even worse. So this is what white saw, and this is why white resigned the game. So another swing here, another example of seeing things that maybe the second player, the first player didn't see. So that was round 3, and we only have 2 more left. So we're going to move on to round 4. Black, the stronger expert, accepted white's resignation, but then to white's horror and the astonishment of the onlookers, he pointed out that after the first turn of rook h7 and king a5, white could improve his play dramatically by a different second move. And after black's second move, white can reply with his third move, and then after black's move, white wins on material. So again, we have to figure out how white now can prevent black's series of moves that we just noticed. Is there a way that after rook h7 and king a5, white can stick to his plan of the checks and capture that black pawn? Pause the video here and see if you can figure out what white can do here to turn the tables yet again. Okay. So here we go. This is round 4. So after rook h7, king a5, as we've discussed, instead of capturing this pawn on b7, white can instead play rook to h8. And now, let's say black promotes. We set up our check. Black's going to move out of the way, and we just captured that queen. And now white's just winning the game here. So the other alternative here for black could be let's go back. Instead of promoting the pawn here, black could try to play a6. But then we get the same thing. We get the check on a8, black moves out of the way, and white's going to capture. And finally, black could play b6, but then white's going to swing his rook over, and this pawn is just never going to promote, basically. So that is the position that black saw, and that was the expert level analysis of this position, leading us to believe that white's going to win. I'm curious to hear how far you guys have gotten here. Did you guys predict any or all of the moves correctly so far? Please let me know in the comments how far you guys have gotten. So based on everything we've just seen, it appears white's winning. And it appears there's no way around that. Or is there? Is white actually winning here? And now we're going to move to the final puzzle that I have for you guys. So, by the way, this was a real game. This was played in 1914. And 36 years later, this game came to the attention of a grandmaster level player who realized that everything I've set up to this point is actually wrong. All the assessments were incorrect. So the grandmaster noted that, we go back to the beginning, after h7, black should actually promote this pawn. And you might think that, hey Dan, we already went over that earlier, didn't we? Which we did. But he noted that black can actually force a draw here. And he can force a draw by stalemate. Just a quick definition in case you don't know what the word stalemate means, or the term stalemate in chess. This occurs when the king, in this case the black king, is not in any check. However, there are no legal moves for black to make. So if this situation occurs, the game is automatically drawn, no matter how far ahead or behind either side was before that stalemate. So games do end this way, and it's pretty depressing if you're up way, so much material. Sometimes you're a move away from checkmate. If you make a wrong move, and the king has nowhere to go, and your opponent can't move any other pieces, that's it. The game's drawn. So the Grandmaster found a draw by stalemate here for black. And here's a quick hint. You may notice that black's pawn on c5 cannot move. So how many pieces can black actually move here? That might lead you guys in the right direction. No need to pause the video for this one. I'm actually going to give you guys all the way until my next video to figure this one out. So let me know if you can figure out this Grandmaster's idea, and how we can force a draw in this position as black. And I'll see you guys next time.